Are you showing up to work as just another employee, or are you thinking like a leader? Here's the thing. Leadership isn't about a job title. It's about how you approach your work, how you solve problems, and how you add value every single day. So today, I'm diving into the mindset shifts that can help you think like a leader and stand out in your career. When you show up as leadership material, whether the job title is there or not, you have a leader's mindset. This is critical for success. It's critical for success of your team, the people around you, even if you don't have a team. It's critical for success of your ideas. It's critical to have influence, to get your ideas adopted and implemented and driven forward. Again, even if you're not actually in the position of having a team under you, even if what you are is an individual contributor, but if you're a leader of ideas, this is critical. It's critical for the organization. It's critical for the team. It's critical for success, and it's critical for your career growth, especially if you are after a voice at the table, and particularly if you're a woman in tech who is not being taken seriously. One of the things I learned early on in my career is that when I thought as a leader, I elevated. I showed up differently. Every conversation I had was different. Every problem I solved in a different way because I wasn't thinking about me and doing the job. I was thinking bigger. If you took one thing away from today's episode, and I know we're right at the beginning, but if you took one thing away, I want you to know that being a leader means thinking bigger. It means thinking beyond your immediate responsibility. It means thinking beyond, how do I do this thing in front of me? It is about thinking bigger and delivering on a big thinking. So let's talk about this. So many of us fall into the trap of just do the job. We show up, we do the thing we're asked to do, even as a leader. And a lot of the time that means being in reactive mode. We're given a thing, we deliver. We're asked to say something at a meeting, we do that, we move on. We have a one-on-one with our boss. They say, these are the priorities for this week. You go ahead, you do that. Maybe you delegate that to your team. But it's reactive work. We just do the job. And it's very frustrating, actually. So many people come to me burnt out because they're in constant reactive mode. They feel like they're not moving the needle. They feel like they're not delivering. They feel like they're not able to make a difference. Here's the thing. When you think about just doing the job, you aren't thinking strategically. Now, that is not saying you have to think 24/7 about your work. Now, what I would say as a leader is sometimes it's very hard to turn it off. If you're ambitious, if you're driven, if you've got ideas, if you've got inspiration, if you're like, they could do this better, you don't just turn that off. But I also don't think you need to be working 24/7. In fact, one of the things I've learned to do, having this conversation just this weekend with my husband, was I am very ambitious. I've got a lot to do in this world. I really want to change the world. This podcast is part of that mission. I truly believe the world will be better with more women leaders who are equipped to handle the workplace, the masculine energy that we face every day, all the things, right? I am so driven to fulfill that mission. And I also think that better leadership is just a beautiful thing. It makes everything work beautifully. So I'm ambitious. I'm driven. I'm always thinking about that. I'm always thinking about my team and how I can lead them better. I'm always thinking about my clients and what do they need from me next week? I'm always thinking about what I do. I don't just turn it off, but here's what I've learned to do. Evenings and weekends, I down tools. So I can capture an idea if it's really buzzing around my head. But what I do is I capture it and say, I'll get to that Monday morning. I'll get to that tomorrow morning, whatever it is. I will capture it on a little sticky note. I do not put it on my phone. I've learned that one. That does not work for me. That just allows me to explore more. I will capture it, put it on my desk. I work from home, so I'm able to just pop in and put it on my desk. That's great. And I move on. So I do allow myself to think 24/7 because I think if you're ambitious and driven like that, I don't think you can just turn it off. But what I don't do is not think about this at all. And I think earlier on in my career, I fell into the trap of, I just don't like this. I just need to do my job. And certainly straight out of university, when I finished my PhD, I was very burnt out. I think a lot of people are at the end of their PhD. And I just needed a job for a couple of years where literally I came to work, did the thing, went home, didn't think about it. I coasted. I would say for about 8 months, 9 months. It wasn't as long as I thought I needed, but I then started getting bored, interestingly. But I needed quite a long time to heal after my PhD. And there, I did just show up and do the job. And then I started thinking more strategically. And initially, early on, very small. And so if you're listening to this and you're right at the beginning of your career, thinking strategically doesn't mean you're thinking about the entire business. It goes, where does this thing I'm responsible for fit in? Why am I doing this? What could I do differently? Why is it being done this way? What is my value proposition as the person I am at work? Part of thinking like a leader is to have that voice, make an impact, all without burnout, which means having time off to allow yourself to de-stress. Remember, burnout is about stress more than anything, but having that impact actually also prevents stress, because when we're in an environment where we're just doing the job, when we don't have the mindset of how can I achieve more? How can I get my boss to listen to me? How can I have influence? How can I create opportunities for my growth? We tend to get frustrated, especially if you're listening to this podcast. You're ambitious. If you're listening to this podcast, there's some part of you is like, this is not enough. Otherwise, you would just be stacking shelves in a grocery store, right? And that not enough can lead to burnout. Now, you might just be coming and just doing the job because, hey, you might have listened to my episode on the ambition gap, the gap between where we hold ourselves because we feel like we can't sacrifice something to get to our ambition. That causes this own special form of burnout. But when we fall into this trap of just do the job because, whatever the because is, we stop having the impact we crave. And so today I want to talk to you about the 7 mindset shifts that are going to allow you to think like a leader, have more influence, whatever your job title, have more of an impact, and actually reduce your stress as a result. Although that's just a bonus here. That's not really the point of today's episode. But I want you to start thinking this way. You ready? Let's dive in. So the first mindset shift. Are you thinking your job is to just do your job? How would it feel if you feel that your job is having an impact? Your job is changing something. Your job is to do something better for the world. When as leaders, we focus on the bigger picture, we impact good things, whether that's profit and competitiveness, it's efficiency, it's the way that the thing that you're building is going to impact clients. It's the way that your team works together or the whole company works together, whatever it is. If you think bigger, your job is not to just do the job title. I want you to think about how it would feel to have fulfillment. Think beyond this immediate small piece of work and stop treating your job as just to do your job. For example, if you have a team member who had an automated repetitive task, say that they just did that in company hours. One, that's the first job that's going to be replaced by AI, by the way. Automation, repetitive, it's the perfect candidate for AI, whether it's here or not. But instead, I want you to ask, how could that work contribute to a bigger picture? Why is that work necessary? What is it doing? Why are we doing this thing? What is it delivering? How can we make more of that? I want you to think beyond just doing your job and ask how your work impacts the company, the product, the competitiveness, the efficiency, the people around you, everything that's going on, and get some fulfillment from thinking bigger. Think beyond this little piece of work. The second mindset shift I want you to make is, are you thinking you have to go along with every decision? Oh, this is a tricky one because I will have conversations with clients when I'm like, you just need to suck this up, buttercup. That's the phrase my husband gave me. Suck it up, buttercup. Right? But here's the thing. As a leader, I want you to critically think about decisions. I want you to challenge decisions that don't align with the company's vision or values. I want you to ask, why is this decision being made? How does this drive our mission and goals? How does it drive our strategic objectives? I want you to ask yourself, how would it feel to actually be having conversations with your boss, with peers, around the lines of, so here's what I'm seeing is wrong with this. Here's how I'd like to make it right. Here's how we could better align. Here's how we could make more profit. Here's how we could deliver this faster. Here's how we could better align this with the company's vision, values, strategic objectives. How would it feel to be able to have those conversations rather than just going along with it, maybe quietly sulking in a corner, being frustrated, A lot of the time, we think we can't challenge. You should challenge. It's about how you challenge. A great leader knows when to challenge and knows when to say, actually, you know what? I don't agree with this, but I'm getting on board with it. So I want you to be in the mindset of it's okay to challenge a decision. It's not okay to challenge every decision. You become a problem person. You've heard me talk about that before. Don't be the problem person, be the solutions person. If you're going to challenge a decision, you need to have a good reason for challenging it. So for example, if you are questioning a software purchase and somebody has proposed an alternative that saves the company money, part of your questioning needs to be like, what are the pros and cons? Why would we do that rather than this? What's the lead time for onboarding a team? What's the cost overhead of that? That's non-trivial. What's the long-term cost? All those kind of things. Ask yourself when a decision is coming down, does this align with our goals? Is there a better way? If the answer is yes, then you need to take it to the next level. Don't just do your job, think beyond your job and ask yourself, why is this decision being made? That's crucial. So many leaders who start thinking about, I'm not going to go along with every decision, then get really frustrated because they just get shut down. I think we then fall back into, oh, I'll just go along with it. And that's very stressful and leads to burnout. The next step with not going along with every decision is to have a good alternative and a good reasoning why. But to do that, you've got to understand the reasoning behind the decision. Even if it's your team, by the way, if your teams come to you with a decision that you disagree with, understand why they made that decision before you shut it down. Then you can educate them on why you're shutting it down. The more transparent we can be about decision making, the more equipped people are to make better decisions in your absence, which means you have less tension, actually. So always ask, does this align with our goals? Is there a better way to do this? If so, what? Why did we not make that decision already? How can I get people on board? Make sure you aren't just going along with every decision, but then when you don't go along with a decision, you do it really, really well. Otherwise, you'll find yourself just going along with every decision and burning out as a result. Mindset shift number 3. Are you thinking your job is just about the paycheck? I'm here for the money. I don't have any options. This is such a great job. If I leave, I'm going to lose all these RSUs. Or if I leave, I'm going to lose this bonus. No other company can match this. I'm just working towards retirement. This is so sad. It breaks my heart every time. You don't need to just make money. Hey, let me just tell you something important that you do need to hear. If you're working in tech, especially if you're a leader in tech, you're doing okay. I know when we take on mortgages and we've got kids in college, it can feel like all these bills are just lining up. Yes, that is true. You're still doing okay though. There comes a point when it's actually more important to do a job that is about the job rather than the paycheck. Now, I don't think you should not be paid. I have many, many, many conversations with women who are telling me what their salary is. And I'm like, you do realize you're being paid a quarter. I actually had this conversation just last week. This woman is on a comp that is a quarter of what she should be on, a quarter. And that's without her being like a kick-ass leader or anything like that. Like I've just met her. I don't know if she would be able to actually own a very, very high compensation. She may well do, but just like sensible level for her level of responsibility. She's on a quarter. It could go to a lot more than that, especially when you include bonuses and stuff. And it just breaks my heart. It makes me so angry as well that we do this to ourselves. But here's the thing. It can then feel that when we do get lots and lots of compensation, that we have to stay stuck. I want you to know you have options. How would it feel if you knew you had options, you still had the potential to earn as much money as you currently do, you're able to go out and find a job that pays the same amount and is fulfilling? So I want you to let go of this idea of golden handcuffs and think, I can't have conversations because have the conversation. Somebody might surprise you with an offer. And there's a reason why your current company is paying you that much, because they want you. That doesn't mean a future company doesn't see that. If they know that you're worth that to one company, a really forward-thinking company, where you interview well, by the way, which means not sabotaging yourself because you think, nobody's going to give me this job. Another great company might be like, well, we really need her too. What can we do to meet her there? You can have fulfillment and you can have money. I want you to think about what would it take to love your job? Get clarity on whether it's possible to love your current role, your current company. What would it look like to love your current role? What would it look like to move to another company and have passion and excitement and fulfillment? What is needed? Take that apart from the financial piece, first of all. And then I want you to ask yourself, how can I do that? Start having conversations. I'm a huge believer in networking at every moment in our careers, not just when you desperately need a new job. So start networking. Start having conversations with executive recruiters. Start volunteering for cross-functional products, which are going to gain you the experience to get you a promotion, which means it's easier for you to move somewhere else maybe. Here's another thing. I've just started working with a new client, and working on her resume, she's come to work with me to land a new job that is going to be a promotion. She wants to go from senior director to VP. And she's in a decent sized company. She has a good team under her, lots of responsibility. We started working on her resume, and she's like, I'm already doing everything that these VP roles are after. I was like, yes, you are. And so she was like, I'm paid so well. Am I going to be able to get a job that pays us? Yes, because actually she is doing a VP role right now. She just doesn't have the job title. And actually her compensation, although go for senior director, is not VP level. So she's going to get a promotion simply by moving sideways in terms of impact. So I want you to have a look at what do you need to do to gain the experience to lead to a promotion that maybe is somewhere else in a company better aligned with you, or maybe volunteering for something within your company is going to allow you to spread your wings and find it more fulfilling. I want you to not just accept the current role not being fulfilling, but paying well. I want you to look at either how to make it more fulfilling and or move, but keeping your comp. This can be done. Remember, comp isn't everything, but I do think most of us have more flexibility than we give credit for. So identify one skill you want to develop, look for opportunities, practice how to do it, use that to make a difference, move, get more fulfillment in your current role, whatever it looks like. But identify one thing to develop and figure out what you're going to do to get that. That one thing you're going to develop, by the way, might be your networking to an executive recruiter. Mindset shift number 4. Are you thinking your job is just your job description? When we're leaders, our role should be expansive. It should be about taking initiative. It isn't just what's on your JD. How would it feel to have more autonomy, more responsibility, less pushback? Because you have more responsibility, more executive presence, more respect, and more impact. Here's the thing. You have to take it. It's not going to be given to you. In fact, if you don't take it, somebody at some point is going to say to you, you're not executive material. We're not ready for another person in the executive team. So many years ago now that I had a client come work with me. She was very frustrated. She'd just been promoted to senior director and she wanted a seat in the executive team. And she came to work with me. Her boss said to her, there's no room in the executive team. Within 3 months of working with me, she had a seat. They did not change the executive team. What they did is listen to her. What they did, and by that Christmas, so she got the seat at the executive table, I think in November. So by Christmas, she then got the VP title. The key thing that she did is showed up differently. She made it clear that this was the presence, the respect, the impact, the autonomy, the responsibility she was taking. She wasn't asking for permission. She started doing the role she wanted and more. We often think that we have to wait for somebody to give it to us or that we need permission. You do not. As a leader, in fact, I would argue your job is not to ask for permission. If you recognize there are inefficiencies in a team's workflow, I want you to just change it. I want you to propose a new system, improve productivity. I want you to notice what is wrong in the company. I want you to tell the executive team, if we did this, we'd make more money. I want you thinking beyond your job. Look for areas beyond your immediate remit where you can add value. And I want you to figure out how to add that value through influence. The more you do this, the more influence you have. The more your ideas get played out, the more influence you're going to have, the more respect you're going to get. So this becomes a snowball effect. When you start doing this and doing it well, everything becomes easier. Everybody starts listening to you more. The first couple are going to be hard. People aren't going to listen. You're going to get pushback. You're going to have to learn how to deal with that. Have a conversation with me if you're struggling with that, by the way. But once you start doing this regularly and often, it snowballs. And if you're anything like one of my clients who came to me 12 months ago on a PIP, today has had 2 promotions, and is now running most of the company, she is a prime example of the snowball effect. She started showing up differently, started making suggestions that people got behind. And that was the key thing. The first few fell flat. We had to have conversations about why they were falling flat, why it didn't go right, why the board wasn't on board with her ideas, because she was now getting in front of the board as well. What was going wrong? And today she's on the executive team. She is running most of the company. Her boss, the CEO, just keeps giving her more and more work, to the point that we just have to keep having conversations about delegating more. Every time she comes to me, she's like, I'm now taking on this project. I'm like, okay, great. How can we delegate more to your team that is working well so you can triage a team that's new? But she is being proactive. She is saying this needs to be done in the company. But here's the other thing, just going back to our mindset tip number 2, when you don't have to go along with every decision, one of the key things that she's done is figured out when to go along with decisions and when not to, right? So to actually go beyond her job description, she has to know when to push and when not to push. And there have been times when she's come to me going, I do not agree with this. It's stupid. And we dig into it and it's very clear this decision is already set in stone. She wasn't included, which is frustrating. That's changing, thankfully. But in this particular case, her job is to get on board and then deliver. Other times, her job has been to challenge and change the decision. Sometimes your job is to get on board. Okay, mindset tip number 5. Being stuck in reactive mode. I talked about this right at the beginning. A great leader isn't just firefighting, isn't just going, this is what happened today, this is my to-do list. A great dealer is focused on the longer term. She is challenging things. She is anticipating what her team is going to come up against. She's taking proactive steps to address them. She's thinking 6, 12, 24 months ahead, even further. If it feels like you're drowning, you're firefighting, you're never done, you never have time to do anything strategic, you get to your end of your quarter and panic about your OKRs, you're up all day and all night responding to urgent, and you never know what your boss is going to ask you for, you are probably in reactive mode. And it is so hard to get away from this place because everybody's piling on. You're firefighting, you're responding to urgent. There's no time for anything else, right? When you step away from this, it's going to feel that you can work on strategic work. The fires put themselves out or don't even come up. And by put themselves out, I mean, you've got a kick-ass team that does this. But also there are fewer of them because you've taken proactive steps to avoid them, which can feel like that's never going to happen. I had this conversation so many times with a new client. I'm like, it's going to happen. And sure enough, after 6 months, the fires have died right down, but it's hard to get your head in the right mindset for that. Know that you are working on something inspiring, world-changing, instead of responding to who asked something the loudest or who was most angry in your inbox or your DMs. When we're in reactive mode, it is literally a stress response. It's loud, angry things landing, going, I need to. You are also going to be a less good leader in that situation because you are stressed. And however good you are at managing your stress, your team is going to see that. Your team is also going to be in reactive mode. This actually, although you might get immediate kudos from it, and quite often the time we stay in reactive mode because we get dopamine hits. We put out that fire, we respond to that email. It's like a dopamine hit, which we are fully addicted to. We're designed to be dopamine all day long. Strategic work is not dopamine hits all day long. It's a longer term thing. And what tends to happen is the level of background frustration, which we then need to cure with a dopamine hit. So you need to understand how to back out of this, the discomfort, the stress of backing away from the reactive work. So I want you today, if this sounds like you, I want you to spend 15 minutes, start small, planning and prioritizing a few things for tomorrow instead of just reacting to emails or requests. Be okay with those emails sitting in your inbox just a little bit longer. There's a whole journey on letting go of reactive mode, but start with 15 minutes to plan tomorrow and just pause on your emails. Be okay with those emails and those DMs just sitting there for an uncomfortable period of time. Mindset tip number 6, waiting for work to be given to you. Now, I'm hoping by this point, you know that that's not what a leader does. A leader does not wait to be told what to do. She is seeking it out. She is driving innovation. She is driving direction of travel. She is not being told what to do. She will have strategic objectives coming down unless you're the CEO, but you get to decide what to do with that instead of having that decision done for you. Now, there is a huge caveat to this one. It's okay to coast if you're making a choice to exit, but the choice to exit actually comes with burnout of its own type. I find a lot of the time when I've got a client who is in a job and they've decided they're leaving, and we go, okay, you're going to coast now, which a lot of us struggle with, in fact. But whether or not they decide to coast, as soon as we've decided we're leaving, stress comes because we've made that decision. We know we're leaving. We haven't been truthful about it with anybody because that would damage your career, because it might take 6 months, 12 months, who knows. But they've decided they're leaving, and that creates stress. And that stress causes a special form of career hunt burnout. It's not the actual career hunting itself, speaking, interviewing. That's not what's causing the burnout. It's this holding, I've made a decision I can't tell anybody. That is incredibly stressful. So I want you to take on work without being given it. I want you to decide what to do. I want you to make decisions. But it comes with a caveat, which is if you're job hunting, you have to take care of you first. It's stressful. Take care of you first. I want you to think about how you are going to get hold of work, how you're going to make sure you've got decisions that are within your purview. How can you make sure that you're aligning with the company's strategic objectives? I want you to have a look at the data behind a proposal, product feature, something that you're working towards, and say, what's an improvement I can make? How can I move this forward for me or my team? What can we do here? Mindset tip number 7. Stop thinking you can do it all. Leaders who prioritize high impact tasks, delegate most effectively, are going to have more of an impact. How it's going to feel for you is that you're not working all the hours, that this is not all on you, that you can trust your team to deliver, that you aren't drowning, that your to-do list, although never done, is under control and remains that way. You are focused, you're inspired, you're excited instead of drowning. When this happens, you should be expecting that you are going to have more of an impact. When you're trying to do all the things, it's kind of reactive mode. There's less mindset tip, right? You are sitting in a space of underachieving because you're trying to do too much. One thing at a time. If your to-do list is never done, that's okay. But what I want you to do is focus in, get inspired, get excited about specific things. I want you to focus on how your team can also do that. A leader who's focused on mentoring her team to do high impact stuff rather than micromanaging is always going to have better team performance. So focus on the one thing, inspire your team or mentor your team instead of micromanaging your team, which is actually lots and lots of small things. You cannot do it all. This is a big one to look out for if you've recently been promoted or you've recently taken on more responsibility. You have to stop doing some of what you did before you got that more responsibility, before you got promoted. You have to let go. You have to delegate. You have to deprioritize some of the other things. So here's my tip for you on this one. Review your to-do list and identify tasks that can be delegated or deprioritized. One thing I say to my team all the time, if it doesn't require my brain, my face, or my voice, it's not my job. I'm a CEO and head coach. So yes, if my clients need me. Yes, my brain is needed for most of our content like this. But anything else that doesn't require my brain, my face, because I'm the face of the company, or my voice, I don't need to be doing. And I tell you, that's hard. There are so many things I love to be in the weeds on. That is not my job. There are so many things I could do. I know I'm very unusual for a tech entrepreneur, for an entrepreneur in a coaching company, rather, that I've got a tech background. That's unusual. As you've probably heard on the podcast before, there are not that many tech coaches who have a tech background, certainly for women in tech. Most of the ones I know, I've actually coached and therefore trained as coaches myself. So we're an unusual breed. And therefore, it's actually unusual that I did all the tech in my business at the beginning. And it's therefore very hard for me to let go of doing the tech. Today, I don't actually understand my tech stack. We've got a lot of software that sticks everything together in my business, and I don't understand it. That's not my job as a CEO. Just because I can do it doesn't mean I should do it. My job as a CEO is to run the business, is to set the strategic direction, Oh, I have a second job, which is head coach, which means I show up and I coach. I coach my heart out. I can't do that if my head's in the weeds. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the thing that you can do that your team can't do? Even better than that. What is the thing that you can do that your boss can't do or shouldn't do? So there's a shouldn't do. So my COO knows I shouldn't be doing the tech stack. That's her job, right? So she will be like, Toni, that's not your job. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, fair dues. It's not. She gets to remind me of that. But then the second thing is there are jobs my team does, like graphic design. But there are lots of things in any tech role where as a leader, your boss maybe has never done the thing that your team is responsible for. Now, that does not mean that it's you doing it, but sometimes our bosses need a little reminder that that's not their job. So I want you to identify how to delegate, how to deprioritize. Stop thinking you can do it all and make sure you're doing the high impact stuff that needs your face, your voice, or your brain, and that cannot be delegated. Okay, I know I said I had 7 mindset tips, but I do have a bonus one for you. My bonus mindset tip is about ambiguity. Ambiguity is something you need to embrace. So my bonus mindset tip is embrace ambiguity. How would it feel to make decisions without worrying about all of the answers? To embrace getting answers through actions instead of sitting in a place of inaction and frustrating, waiting for someone to tell you what to do. Ambiguity is the job of a leader. It is owning that ambiguity, empowering your team to take action anyway. Sometimes, if you're high enough up, that is passing the ambiguity down and making it clear that that is ambiguity that is not going to be resolved, and empowering your leaders under you to take action even though there's ambiguity. There is discomfort in taking action. Discomfort, particularly when there's ambiguity. Here's the thing. As a leader, there is just a ton of ambiguity. If you're in business, you are doing something that nobody's ever done before. All businesses are doing new things, even if it's just for that company. There is no right way of doing anything. You are going to have to do things that are uncomfortable, that nobody knows if it's going to work. Your boss likely doesn't know the answer. That's not the job. The job is to take action to get clarity. So the mindset tip you really need to worry about is get comfortable with ambiguity. Okay, let's do a quick wrap up because there's a lot that we just talked about. The 7 mindset shifts that I want you to take to start thinking like a leader instead of just another employee. Make sure you aren't just thinking your job is to do your job. Secondly, make sure you don't go along with every decision just because. Mindset shift number 3, your job is not just about the paycheck. Mindset shift number 4, stop thinking your job is just your job description. Mindset shift number 5, stop being stuck in reactive mode. And mindset shift number 6, stop waiting for work to be given to you. That is a biggie. Mindset shift number 7 is stop thinking you can do it all. And then the final one, embrace ambiguity. When we get to this point of embracing these, you are going to think like a leader. You're going to constantly grow. You're going to constantly build skills with confidence, with influence. It is genuinely going to change the way everybody talks about you, interacts with you, how they invite you to meetings, how they listen to you in meetings. Leaders get noticed because they are showing up with this mindset. It's going to help you stand out to your boss. It's going to open doors to new opportunities. It's not going to make you everybody's best friend, but that's not the job either. It will, however, accelerate your career, your influence, and your impact. I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about how this is going to create a ripple effect. When you show up this way, you're going to inspire others around you to do the same. I've seen clients inspire their bosses to change. Obviously, you can inspire your team, great, but bosses and peers also are going to learn from this. And all of you are then going to drive more innovation and more success for your team and your company as a result. If you feel that this is something you're ready to work on and you are struggling with how to get started, please book a call with me. I do complimentary strategy sessions every month. There are a limited number. My calendar is pretty full at the moment, but I do complimentary strategy sessions every month where we can dig into a specific thing. If you then want to have a chat about working with me longer term, that's absolutely fine. But it is just a get to know me and get unstuck. Let me help you help yourself and move through and become the leader you know you're meant to be in the world. So until next time, learn how to think like a leader and let go of being just another employee.